like to introduce you to the entrance house. This was the called Willowbank Hall, and it was where the chief engineer lived. And it was built in 1915, also by prisoners, and the style is a Tudor revival style. So with the wooden beams on the second floor, looking like a house from Shakespeare's time. So in the early 1900s, when this property was planned to be the prison farm, the Ontario Reformatory, the whole purpose of it was to, as its name implies, to reform the prisoners. And so it was planned in two different kind of areas. There's the ornamental areas and then the training, the work training areas. So where we're standing now is part of the ornamental landscape that the prisoners all built roughly from 1911 to 1915. Behind me is the long dry stone or long field stone wall. So the material for the wall, the stones, were largely taken from the field so that then they could be farming fields. And the prisoners were taught then to make a wall like this one. And if you could look at the construction, you would see the layer of large field stones filled up in the middle with all the little kind of stones, and then another layer on the other side. So that would be part of their training to learn that one. And it's one of the longest stone walls in Ontario. And as we look around the landscape behind us, this is all the ornamental part. People came here for picnics and weddings and family outings. It was a beautiful manicured spot. Opposite me is one of the large ponds, more like a lake, and a second one with a bridge in between. These were originally the quarries that they took the material from to build the administration building and the cells. So there are also small ponds, there's tiny ponds, there's steps, dry stone walls, and terraces, all different features that made this a beautiful landscape. And it comes from the City Beautiful movement in the United States that said a beautiful environment will kind of turn out beautiful people. So that was part of it. So the house behind me is the superintendent's residence. So the superintendent looked after the whole kind of landscape. This was built in 1921 after the prison had reopened again as a prison. It had been a military hospital for a number of years. The house is known as Elmsley, and it's in the arts and crafts style. And it too was built by prisoners' labor. So the foundation is limestone, and the upper level is made of cement stucco. Since it was built, of course, it needed renovations. They have closed in the porch to make a sunroom, new roof, new windows to make it last a little bit longer. If you go around the back, there's a driveway that goes into the lower level, and that was used in 1921 for the superintendent's horse and carriage, and then later for the car. Yorklands has the concept that this will be the center of an outdoor education. It could do some daycare, could be the offices for teaching and learning environmental principles and sustainability. So we'd like this house to be the center of the activities for the Yorklands Green Thumb. The Yorklands, the former correctional center and reformatory, was a huge landscape, as I mentioned before, ornamental, and the trees were a big feature of it. There's a wealth of different trees on the land, but two of the key ones are heritage trees. The one beside me is a beech, which is now very rare in Ontario. A lot of maple trees and evergreens that give the kind of leading up to the main driveway of the administration building behind me. It was planned to be an impressive driveway to come all the way up through the trees and enter with the landscape behind me. The circle in front of the administration building was a beautiful ornamental garden, keeping in mind that the whole purpose of this place was to teach the young prisoners skills. So they were learning gardening and plants, horticulture, and landscape gardening also at the same time. So everything they did was to that purpose, to train them for a life after prison. So the walk that we've done today is part of the Yorklands Green Hub Blue Dot Trail, which kind of circumnavigates the land that the Yorklands would like to use for its sustainable agriculture and environmental studies, the outdoor education program that could go on here. So we are now walking down from the administration center and the kind of ceremonial area and the prison part into the land. That was at one time a 1,000-acre farm. There were 1,800 fruit trees. There was a large herd of dairy cattle. There was a piggery. There were 2 huge dairy barns. People came from all different countries to see the farm training that was done here. The cattle were a prize dairy herd that also were a draw for visitors who are interested in farming. Behind me and behind the other part of the fieldstone wall is largely a wetlands. There are creeks running underneath it. It has a huge amount of biodiversity in it. Right now it looks like just swampy land and bulrushes, but there are streams in it that join up with the Aramasa and the Speed River. Along the front of the property is the Clyde Creek, which has a nice system of waterfalls that the prisoners also built as part of the ornamental area. So this area cannot be built on because it's wetlands, and it would make a great area for raised beds, for teaching children farming, activities in the outdoors. There's a lot of opportunity here. So you can follow around the Blue Dot Trail, go along to my left and follow down the fieldstone wall back around to the superintendent's house. So that would be part of the walking trail complex that would be in the Yorklands Green Hub.